Good morning, and we'll call to order the meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, your agenda is in order and ready for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 is to receive the General Manager's report.
And before you start, Tina, I'd just like to make a couple comments. One, many of you, if not all of you, are aware of Coach Tarkanian's passing yesterday. Certainly, Councilwoman won't be here this morning. But if you would, keep Lois and the entire Tarkanian family in your thoughts and prayers today. He was, we talked a little bit about the coach yesterday at the Southern Nevada Strong event, and he was one of the few people in my 30 years that really transformed the community, really gave us an identity, tremendously committed not only to UNLV, but his program and his community. Lois is a deeply religious woman. So again, if you would keep the family in your thoughts and prayers, it would be greatly appreciated. And probably the number 2, following Coach T, event over my 30 years here as far as transforming the community and kind of creating a Las Vegas spirit for onwards of 3 weeks was the Mountain Ridge Little League team. Not the best way to backdoor into a national championship, but having them acknowledged as the true champions of the country, another great sign for our community. Oh, and as a final note, and I brought this up yesterday, I see that many of you here today are wearing your Patriot blue, and I greatly appreciate that. There's been some talk about Seattle being a dominant team in the Las Vegas market. MJ, would you hold up your mug? Go Seahawks. The only thing that needs is an L on the back of it for losing. But our office got together and decided to present MJ with a little gift, a Super Bowl memento. So I would like to present. And I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but down here you see Tom stepping up and throwing one of his 4 touchdown passes. Don't hate us. Hashtag City of Champions. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, please.
The first item in your General Manager's report is to recognize our RTC Superstar of the Quarter. Congratulations to Administrative Specialist Karen Rickerson. We have Karen with us. Karen, come on down. Karen recently developed a more efficient process for creating temporary bus stop closure signage, which saved her department several hours of work. This innovative and streamlined approach was instrumental during the recent New Year's Eve fixed route transit detours that impacted more than 50% of our route. Her attention to detail and determination to continuously look for opportunities to improve has benefited the RTC, and most importantly, our transit riders. Thank you, Karen, for your hard work and dedication.
I am very fortunate that I'm a part of RTC. We have great leadership, and I get to work with some absolutely wonderful people each day. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Congratulations.
And we have one more recognition. This is an unusual one, but we really wanted to make mention of this. We have a call center operator, Noemi Sanchez. I'd like to acknowledge her for a special reason. On a daily basis, the RTC call center takes over 2,200 calls a day. But in late December, Naomi received a customer call that needed to be handled carefully. A fixed route customer was hysterical and dealing with life-threatening issues. Noemi was calm while guiding the customer. As a result, she spent more than 20 minutes on the phone counseling the customer and providing help to contact the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Thank you, Noemi, for your patience and for going above and beyond for our customers.
Here you go, ready? Thank you.
I really appreciate this. Thank you very much. I'm scared of speaking in public.
Next slide. Yesterday was the celebratory event for the official passing of the baton from the City of Henderson to the Regional Transportation Commission for the implementation of the Southern Nevada Strong effort. This is our first federally recognized regional plan, and it has significant impacts for us, not just now, but forever into the future. We had our chairman, Larry Brown, give the keynote be the introductory speaker yesterday, and I'd like to ask him for comments. Okay. We also had our vice chair, Councilwoman Deborah March, who was also the chair of the consortium committee and has really been the leader and the champion of this effort since it started 3 years ago. In doing so and in championing this, we ended up reaching out to over 70,000 constituents to learn from them what they wanted to see in their regional plan. And we now, as a result, again, have a federally recognized plan that is going to help us become more eligible for federal funds in the future. And will be the way we continue to, they've set the model for how we will continue to reach out to our community, our constituents, and our business leaders for implementing our regional plan.
Thank you, Tina. And Tina and I had a conversation last night, and I must tell you, 3 years ago when we undertook this plan, I thought it was overwhelming, and I thought, oh my God, this is daunting. How are we ever going to accomplish this? And then yesterday we saw the completion and the approval of the plan and the transfer of the plan over to the RTC. So last night Tina and I were talking, and she said, well, how are we going to get all of this done? And because it is daunting now, because the way we're doing business as the RTC is going to change in terms of how we engage the public, and also in terms of implementing this plan that has 300 and some roles and responsibilities that different folks across the community will engage in. And what I said to Tina was, it's like eating an elephant. We'll be eating it one bite at a time. And this is really an exciting opportunity for Southern Nevada to be transformational, to do business in a much more significant way, to see better outcomes for our entire community, whether it's in housing, transportation, job creation, the economic health and vitality of our community. RTC, as an MPO, will truly play a pivotal role, and transportation will really be the important driver that supports all decisions around land use and community design and development. So I'm excited, and I have the greatest confidence in the RTC staff and leadership and this board. I just celebrate all of you and think that we have wonderful and exciting things ahead of us for Southern Nevada. So thank you. And by the way, there was a beautiful article. Richard, you did a beautiful job wherever you are, and acknowledging the program, the Southern Nevada Strong program. So Tina, here.
Oh. Get it for me? Thank you, Councilwoman.
As part of the symbolism yesterday of the passing of the batons, and these are as close to Patriot Blue as you could get. This is, how many Seattle fans out there? This is the bag they gave us yesterday at the meeting. So we were trying to ease the pain a little bit. And we have some extras. Oh.
Rudy can have it.
And it was a great event yesterday. It truly was. I mean, it acknowledged, and rightfully so, the leadership from Councilwoman March and many of the stakeholders for the last 3 years. And the skeptics are out there. Anytime you mention government, initiative, plan, people say, what's new? You know, I used the wrong analogy. I said that usually equates to more storage space and dust collecting. But I guess the new analogy is you increase your storage capacity in the cloud to put these initiatives and plans up there. But there's a big difference, not only in the effort over the last 3 years, but the timing of this transition. We at the RTC probably set the standard and certainly have raised the bar as far as regional approach to public issues. And it's been a lot easier than what's going to happen with the Southern Nevada Strong Initiative, because when we talk public infrastructure, especially roadways, the jurisdictional boundaries don't play. Everybody buys into flood control. It's the best for the region regardless of what jurisdictional boundary you get across. But traditionally, and especially in Southern Nevada, when you start talking about defining one's community and zoning and land use and aesthetics, that's when people at times get very territorial. That's the challenge, is bringing that regional approach that has been so successful at the RTC and the flood control district into this MPO and this initiative over the next generation, because it truly is, coming off the recession, there's so many people out there talking that now is the time to define what we want our community to be in 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. So the decisions that not only this board will make over the next few years, but many of our member agencies and their policy decisions is truly going to define the next generation Las Vegas, the next generation Southern Nevada. So we're very, very excited about it. It's in the right place. It's found the right home. I know that Raymond Hess, is he here with us this morning? He will now, he and his team will now become the face of this transition. And the timing is great. One of the other big differences that was well documented yesterday is the success of the past 3 years and the success of the future activities is dependent upon the stakeholders. This is not the RTC driving this plan. This is the RTC taking a lead role in managing and executing and implementing. From the transportation standpoint, no problem. But Raymond and his group are going to be working with the school district, the utilities, the private sector, the developers, to make sure that their commitment over the last 3 years stays with us, because they're also being charged with the implementation of this plan. So hopefully you'll be getting a knock on the door or a phone call from the RTC. We certainly would love to continue the tremendous community involvement we had, from just normal everyday citizens right up to some of our largest companies in town. There's a great buy-in right now, and the next few years is truly going to set the foundation for what we feel will be the next generation Las Vegas.
Thank you, Commissioner. You said that so well. You're right. The RTC board will now be hearing at least regularly about regional issues. Whether or not they're directly transit or transportation issues, you'll also be hearing about regional issues. And with that, I would like to share with you some good news that we read today, that Clark County School District was honored as District of the Year for their AP program, their Advanced Placement program, for large metropolitan areas. This is actually an absolutely huge recognition. So it's those types of things that we'll be monitoring and reporting to you directly. They were recognized by the College Board.
And board member 2 was there yesterday and has been part of the process. She shared that news. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Next slide. The next item in your GM report is to receive a summary of the RTC's community safety campaign efforts in coordination with NDOT's Zero Fatalities. As you may know, pedestrians have accounted for 9 of the 26 traffic fatalities reported in Nevada since January 1st of this year. That is nearly twice the number reported during the same time last year. Each of the local jurisdictions, along with law enforcement and community stakeholders, are joining together to generate awareness focused on pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists, and highlight safety efforts. The collaborative work includes a joint press conference scheduled for Thursday, March 5th, a joint advertising and social media campaign, and targeted engineering and enforcement efforts that are scheduled to kick off in March. Participants, the press conference will also launch the U.S. DOT's Mayor's Challenge, which challenges elected officials throughout the country to take action for safer people and safer streets. Participants of the Mayor's Challenge will spend a year helping their communities improve safety. The challenge highlights activities that include complete street design efforts, tracking data, education, and enforcement. We are looking forward to kicking off these efforts and will keep you updated of our progress. Next slide. Transportation priorities. Last board meeting, you asked us to come back to and outline for you the priorities, the issues we'll be tracking through in the legislature. And I did accompany Chairman Larry Brown up to the legislature earlier this week. On Tuesday, we reported to both the Senate Transportation Committee and the Assembly Transportation Committee, giving them an overview of who the RTC is and what we do, and then also to let them know the BDRs that we are going to be paying attention to. The one that's of highest priority for us is tracking amendments to AB 413. You remember AB 413 was the Assembly bill last session that allowed us to enable Clark County to consider tying motor vehicle fuel tax to inflation, and of course it passed at the County Commission, and we have implemented that, and that's what's allowed us to get a lot of work out this year. But AB 413, the way it currently reads, requires that there'll be two ballot questions, a Clark County question and a statewide question. Question 1 would be asking whether voters want to continue indexing taxes on fuels to inflation, specifically the local and federal portion. And the second question would ask voters if they want to allow indexing of state fuel taxes in all counties. Now, we think that that's probably, it's confusing enough for those of us who deal with this every day to be able to explain it. We would really like to see, and I know there's a BDR, to combine those two questions into one so that an individual county, let's see, if approved by an individual county, the portion of indexing collected on state fuels would be transferred to the Nevada Department of Transportation and allocated only to those projects located in the county where the indexing revenues were collected. So we would have one question here in Clark County, just to ask the voters if they want to tie motor vehicle fuel tax to inflation. If it is approved, then we would work administratively with NDOT to make sure the monies were appropriated to the entity, and the money collected that went to NDOT would be spent on NDOT projects in Clark County. So we'll be following that one closely. No. Then we would continue to tie, the RTC would continue to receive the inflation money tied to the federal and local portion of fuel tax, and NDOT would receive the inflation amount tied to the state portion. But all of it would stay here in Clark County.
Merely.
Tina, is there a carrying cost when the state collects that money, it goes up in NDOT? I would recognize at times I was working on bills and it was like a $50,000 transfer of dollars that stayed with the state before the money actually went to local governments. Are we fighting that also?
That's included in AB 413's original language. There is a portion that stays with the DMV, who is the collector of these revenues. They keep an administrative overhead portion, and I believe it's, what percentage is it, Fred?
1.
Yeah, well, we'll find out for you, but there is a percentage that does stay with DMV for the administrative overhead of collecting the money.
Okay, so as long as it's not
1%.
really
Thank you.
prohibitive, that's all
Yeah.
I want to make sure of. Okay.
Duly noted. 1%.
All right, thank you.
A second BDR that we'll be paying attention to is, we're calling it the protection of the highway fund. Really what it is just to strengthen existing language that exists pertaining to highway fund money, making sure that money that has been promised to the state's highway fund does in fact get allocated and stay within the highway fund for highway construction and maintenance purposes. We want to invite you all to a legislative transportation breakfast that will be held next Wednesday, 7 a.m. at the Firk and Fox, a restaurant right across the street from the state's capitol. We'll be co-hosting along with other agencies, specifically NDOT, Washoe County RTC, the Carson MPO, the Tahoe Regional Transit District, and then also some private sector partners, specifically NEDCO, ACEC, the Association of Engineering, ACEC, Consulting, yes, ACEC, also APA, the American Planning Association, Slater Hannafin, design firm, and Lumos, also a consulting in the industry. So together we will be providing an opportunity for legislators and interested parties to come and learn about the transportation infrastructure and transit projects that we've got going on in the state. And if you want more information, Angela can fill you in. And that concludes my general manager's report.
Thank you. Comments or questions for Tina?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Are we ready? Sorry. Our next item is item number 3, to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation's Director's Report.
Thank you, Tina. Commissioners, I wanted to start out by just mentioning that briefly that President Obama just recently has put in his Grow America Act, a 6-year transportation bill. He had previously, last year, talked about a 4-year transportation bill. And this is a significant increase in transportation funding that would be, that additional funding, 29% increase, would come from these corporations that have offshore or foreign money that they would basically bring back and invest in the United States. So it'd be a one-time tax on that revenue that's been sitting out there offshore for years. Congress obviously has to act on this proposal or consider their own proposal for transportation funding. My Deputy Director, Tracy Larkin, and I will be visiting our delegation in the next couple weeks in Washington, D.C. So we're looking forward to that and finding out what's the latest on the discussion and the debate in Congress on transportation funding. But the thing that we like about President Obama's proposal is that multi-year, 6-year, gives a lot of the state DOTs assurance, as well as the folks that provide transit locally, that assurance of multi-year funding. This week, the Transportation Board awarded the $83 million contract for phase 1 of the I-11 Boulder City Bypass. So NDOT has the initial portion right there on the south of Henderson that goes down to Railroad Pass and connects eventually to US 95, whereas RTC has phase 2. Wanted to mention that we will coordinate closely with RTC. In fact, NDOT is backing off from the US 95 interchange, so RTC's contractor can build that portion on our behalf. So there's a work coordination going on between RTC and NDOT to have our two contractors work closely together. I wanted to, if you could bring up the slides on pedestrian safety, brief the commission on what NDOT's doing on pedestrian safety. We had our, and I wanted to start out by acknowledging there's a lot of efforts down here in Southern Nevada where NDOT's just one of the partners at the table, but people that are passionate, such as Aaron Breen, working under the Safe Community Partnerships. I think they changed their name, but under UNLV's Safe Community Partnerships, and working with the Office of Traffic Safety from the state, and Metro, North Las Vegas Police, Henderson Police. Everybody's been involved, as well as some of the legislators that represent Southern Nevada and the state legislature have been sitting at the table looking at this issue of safety, traffic safety, and specifically pedestrian safety. So I acknowledge all those efforts because you're doing some great work down here, and sometimes that gets lost in some of the news stories with fatalities. Next slide, please. So what NDOT had proposed to our Transportation Board this week and received their approval was to look beyond the use of federal funds. We receive about $21 million of federal funds that goes to certain activities, not just pedestrian safety, but highway traffic safety in general. A lot goes to outreach and education to try to change drivers' behavior, pedestrians' behavior, bicyclists' behavior, motorcyclists. So all these different areas of emphasis are identified, and we look at beyond signal system. We look at whatever it is on rural highways, run-off-the-road accidents or crashes that happen in those areas. But specific to pedestrian safety, let's use more of the state funds that are available in the highway fund to address some of these needs. We're going to develop a tracking system right now. NDOT does these assessments with our maintenance forces, with law enforcement officials that patrol that specific road or highway, and comes up with a list of recommendations. But we haven't done a very good job of tracking those improvements and seeing them through. So we're going to do a better job of tracking those recommendations from those reports and implement through construction. Also, one of the things that has concerned some of our district people is maintenance of safety devices. NDOT does not maintain traffic signals, for instance. We don't have electricians on hand, but definitely we can look at if there's not a local agency that's available. I know that money's tight for local agencies as well, to look at outsourcing the maintenance to a contractor. So it shouldn't be a reason to not install a pedestrian flash or a traffic signal that we can't have someone maintain it for us. We need to look beyond that and see how we can maintain those devices through a contractor. And then better prioritization process. And then this shows the improvements that have been approved by the board down here up in the upper right corner. Complete streets or road diets, as they are called, reduces the number of lanes, gives some dedicated lanes for bicyclists, and wider sidewalks. So more walkable, more livable improvement, and slows down the speed of the traffic. So that's a $4.5 million project there on Lake Mead Boulevard in North Las Vegas. On Charleston Boulevard, we're looking at different pedestrian treatments, a refuge in the median of a road. And down here in Las Vegas, as you know, you have these wide roads with some of them don't have a refuge, an island that would protect people if they didn't make it across the entire street, a 7-lane street. They have a refuge in the middle of the road, and also more flashers so that they're activated. They get the driver's attention that a pedestrian is crossing. We also look at what's called a Danish offset. So a Danish offset, we'll show some pictures of that later, but it forces the pedestrians to look towards the traffic that's oncoming to them as they're crossing the road when they get to the center. Same treatment on Boulder Highway there by the cannery. We're looking at pedestrian refuge and rapid flashers that will catch the driver's attention. And then on Blue Diamond Road, 2 new traffic signals at El Capitan and Fort Apache are the improvements proposed. And we'll go to the next slide. You'll see some of the photographs. So on the left side, you see these what we call rapid rectangular flashing beacons. Very catchy if you see them around certain streets around the valley, also up in northern Nevada. So it's more eye-catching, gets the driver's attention, and we do need the pedestrians to push that button to activate those flashes, though. And getting the signs out over the crosswalk, as you see in the upper right-hand photograph, and you see the pedestrian using these types of devices in the lower. Next slide. So on the upper left-hand corner, you see the Danish offset. So someone crossing from the lower right-hand corner of that particular photograph would have to turn a right angle and start walking the other direction, and they would see the traffic that's going to be coming at them as they cross the rest of that crosswalk. So that's the intent of that Danish offset. And you see some other photographs of bulb outs on the right-hand side where it shortens the distance that a pedestrian has to walk across the street. And so it's going to be a safer, shorter walk across that intersection for a pedestrian. So much safer treatment and better illumination also at certain of these. Many of these fatalities happen at night, and we want to have better illumination systems where these crosswalks exist. So that and next slide shows the complete street example on Lake Mead Boulevard. So you see that currently the 6 lanes of traffic would be reduced to 4 lanes. We want to do these types of examples of treatments. It's going to slow down the traffic. It's going to, as I said, be more walkable and You can have a dedicated bike lane, so safer for bicyclists as well. Promotes more livability in that community. So in certain cases where there's less traffic, doesn't require all that 6 lanes, we can do this type of approach. And we're really following suit from the RTC's inaction of some of these complete street ideas locally, using it on state highways. And that's pretty much the director's report. I'm willing to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rudy. Comments, questions from the board? Rudy, I had one. We were fortunate enough to sit in on the state board meeting on Monday this week, and the governor, as part of the status report on the Tropicana,
Yes.
the pedestrian bridges, had asked me to check with the county as far as our role in that. And I will give you our assurance that the maintenance part of it will be taken care of. The concern that was raised, I think, is a legitimate one as far as NDOT's being asked to basically rebuild the entire system there and try to beat the MGM Arena's construction and grand opening. So if you, and if you don't have it today, I certainly can get it to you, get it from you at a later date, but the timeline, with the assumption if the county is going to make sure that negotiated maintenance is done, the Tropicana seems to be the wild card, but do we feel that if everything falls into place that we can beat the projected opening for the arena?
What is the projected opening currently? Does anybody know?
May of 16? I think it's right around there.
In response, we probably won't beat that date, but we're going to start. What we can do is pre-order the escalators. So this is called a construction manager at risk. So the contractor, Whiting Turner, will develop the plans for the escalator replacement and the improvements with NDOT's engineers, and then we can enter into a contract where they'll pre-order the escalators. That'll at least shave some time off of their schedule. Pre-order the escalators, any kind of long lead time equipment, get that ordered in advance. So a separate contract for that, then a separate contract as soon as the design's complete for the rest of the construction. So we're going to do our best to accelerate that project. I don't know, without checking with staff, whether we'll meet the arena opening date, but definitely work on the areas, the 3 corners that are not involving the Tropicana property, but start there first so that we can do anything to expedite, get the work started, and take that to the board for approval so they can start as early as possible.
And I think that was indicated in your briefing on Monday was, regardless if the Tropicana is still going to slow up their component as their design is finalized, that we're able to do it. And here's my concern, and it's in defense of NDOT. The Convention Authority is going to accept your invoices and pay the bills. They have no oversight as far as the project. Mm-hmm. The county, our role is to make sure that the maintenance is in place in a timely fashion that you can move forward. And and the Tropicana is certainly going to move at their pace. What I don't want to happen is the MGM to weigh in January next year and say, why are you pulling these down? We're 90 days away, or whatever the case may be. So it's really going to be an ask from Clark County to NDOT to be accountable. And if we, over the next few weeks or the next month, feel that there's going to be some scheduling conflict, we need to address that now with the MGM and the county. I don't want us to be here in 9 months, Rudy, getting yelled at by 4 different stakeholder groups saying, why didn't anybody do anything about this? So I greatly appreciate the fact that there are options to accelerate. I think the whole pedestrian bridge component at that intersection, critically important to the overall parking and people movement as part of that arena. And we would anticipate some major events right when the doors open. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission, your next item is to conduct your first citizens participation period.
This is the first time set aside for public comment. Those wishing to speak to the board on a specific agenda item that's posted, now is your opportunity. Number 34, Mr. Mendoza.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jose Mendoza Jr., President for ATU Local 1637. I'm here to speak in regards to item 34, the evaluation of Ms. Quigley. I just wanted to go back 2 years ago when they recommended the commissioners to split the yards into two companies. The commitment back then was that it was going to be a smooth transition, no problems, and everything will be fine and dandy. Well, here we are, 2 years, and it's not fine and dandy. Thank you much to Ms. Quigley and her staff. We're still trying to get a contract, and apparently...
Mr. Mendoza, let's
Okay,
speak
yeah, I
to
agree.
the agenda item.
Okay.
You'll have plenty of time later on to
I'll
speak.
do it on the next
Okay.
portion. But anyway, going back to the evaluation, we hope you really consider, before you give it a raise, the ATU, what we did, we just did a little layman's work here in math and what it would cost the RTC paying $25 per hour to each operator and
And what,
33.
Mr. Mendoza, what does this have to do with the posted agenda?
Okay, well, let me go ahead and give these to you guys so you guys can make it on the record that we presented to the RTC, that we're presenting something that might be cost saving, and the evaluation of Tina should be put in the back burner for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me distribute that to the board. Hold on, Tina, let me just take a look. Since this is a posted agenda item, I may have some comments on the comments. Okay, I don't think that's directly related to that. I don't think the submission is related to the item before, so, but it's part of the record. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on a posted agenda item? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close this portion of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, your next items are your consent agenda, which are made up of items 5 through 33 and may be taken in one motion.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
And I should mention to you that 8 of those consent agenda items were FRI, fuel revenue indexing related projects. Item number 34 will be handled by Assistant General Manager Jerry Keating.
Thank you, Tina. Members of the board, Mr. Chairman. Item 34 is to evaluate the performance of the general manager for the period of January 1, 2014 through December 31st, 2014, and to formulate recommendations as far as management goals and objectives. On November 13th, 2014, the RTC Board appointed RTC Chairman Larry Brown, Commissioner Chris Giunciliani, and Councilwoman Deborah March to serve as the evaluation committee to review the performance of the general manager. Mayor Roger Tobler was appointed to serve as an alternate on that committee. On January 26, 2015, the committee met, and which included board members Chairman Larry Brown, Commissioner Giunciliani, and Councilwoman March, to evaluate Tina Quigley's the general manager's performance. At this point, I turn it over to the board for suggestions and recommendations.
Okay. I will, Councilwoman, if it's okay, I'll report out on the committees. We did meet and went over goals and objectives, the past performance over the year. Many of the subjects that we deal with each month were raised, as far as some of the challenges, the success stories, budget issues. We also, as we do in most of these agenda items, we also wanted to get a perspective of where we're compensating the GM's position for the RTC. And one of the things that comes up often, that is often overlooked, is that the RTC is unique as far as a transit agency because we do so much more. In many major cities, our organization would be broken into two different public agencies. So, and we brought that into consideration because what we want to do, and it's not just comparing our GM's position nationwide and where it is. I use that as a perspective personally. I also like to know where the administrative roles in Southern Nevada are, because we don't, it's not one of the situations where, well, because someone over in this city or this county is being paid this, then we should pay that. I don't believe in that, but I also believe it's important to get a perspective on, are we doing the appropriate compensation package for this GM? And it's certainly Ms. Quigley now, but as importantly, it's a reflection on the value we put on leading this organization. And we did, and the compensation, all those charts were provided during the meeting. After discussion and certainly taking into consideration the past performance and moving ahead, the recommendation to the board is that Ms. Quigley be awarded a 5% salary increase and a 3% bonus. And that would be the motion before the board. I will make that in the form of a motion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we can maybe talk about this. The wonderful thing about it is we could be a driver, we could be the president of the ATU, we could be a private sector contractor, we could be a public official. If someone feels that this job is something that is either overcompensated or isn't appropriate or something that they'd like to do, go for it. I always would love the people that will come up and criticize what others make without having any idea of the... Mr. Mendoza, it's going to be one of those days, so watch it. The educational background, the experience, we'll leave it at that. Move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Item number, oh, did they vote? Okay.
Did you vote?
I put the motion on the floor. Did we? Okay.
Voted? Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, your next item is item number 35. That will be a closed-door session, and if you'd like, you could take item number 36 prior to that.
We're going to, on item number, just for the public's information, we'll be going into closed door on item number 35. We don't know if that will be a short briefing or a longer briefing, so what we'll do, with the board's permission, is take item 36, which will be the second period set aside for public comment. And do we have any cards? First name is Patty. The last name begins with a P. Panisi. Patty, I apologize.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
By now, you guys know it's Patty P. So I just want to thank all of you publicly. Most of you know that my issue has been the grandfather clause. So what I really expected, whether I had a right to expect it or not, was like a 6-month extension. Well, you have just given me such a gift, and my condolences to Councilwoman Tarkanian, and I want to go on record thanking her because I know from day one she was on this like white on rice. you have graciously, more than I could have ever expected, extended the grandfather clause till July of 2018. There's no way I can ever say thank you adequately except to be here. Secondly, you have such a marvelous dispatch reservation staff. I take paratransit, and I'm sure the fixed route the same, but I take paratransit. The other night I called late, like 5 minutes to 6. Well, it was probably my cheap phone, I thought, cut me off. And I thought, okay, well, no big deal. You should have called earlier. You're not going anywhere tomorrow. Becky, and I have no reason to know her last name, but you guys can dig it up. Becky from the paratransit called me back at 6:15. And for a moment I was confused, like, well, I don't have a ride, so why would you be calling me back for anything? She called me back because your system cut me off, and she couldn't go home unless she called me back to book my ride. I would not have known the difference. So where else can I get that kind of service and not come here and say thank you? I would also like to publicly thank Assemblyman Chris Edwards, AD 19, Boulder City, Mesquite. I couldn't find another assembly person on either side who was interested in contacting RTC, getting a feel for who this is and who we, the riders, are and the needs, and talking about extending service to Mesquite or connecting from Mesquite a fixed route. I know that an email was sent to Mr. Keating's office, and I know that you graciously responded that at a mutually convenient time you'll be happy to sit down with him and educate him on the various issues. So guys, thank you. And if you guys aren't happy, I strongly suggest move over to the paratransit side. I don't know what else to tell you. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty, and we'll extend those comments to your kind words to Councilwoman Tarkanian. We'll pass those on. Ian Pollock.
My name is Ian Pollock. I'm a member of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1637. I've been coming down to these meetings for the last probably a year or so. And every time I see a brother or sister from the union come up here and talk to you guys, I see nothing but stone faces, as if you don't care. And I hear that from basically everybody that comes up here and talks, that you don't care. Well, I know that you do care. I know that you do care. And I know all my brothers and sisters over here are wrong. And I'll explain that at the end, why they're wrong. Now, another thing I would like to touch on is when we split the yards, we were told that it was to save the RTC money. I don't buy that. I'll tell you why I don't buy it. When you split the yards, you're bringing in two different companies. That means you have two different general managers. You have to hire more drivers. Where is the savings in that? There is none. The reason the yards were split was to split the union. And when you thought when you split the union, you're going to make us weaker. Well, guess what? We're now 700 strong. And the state of this union is strong. Now, going back to what I was saying about how I know that all my brothers and sisters are wrong, here's the reason. You guys are all public elected officials. We, the union, are all registered voters, and you guys need to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Virginia Randono.
Good morning, Virginia Randono. I work for MV Transportation. I'm a driver. I've only been a driver for 2 years, and what I'd like you to address however you do it, is maintenance issues with your equipment. I'm a deuce driver. I drive one every day. Summer's coming. The buses are not ready. It was 77 degrees yesterday, and my passengers and I were dying in this bus at 77. There's no airflow. When the air won't flow, it's hot in there. It was like 88 degrees in the bus with no moving air. It's not one bus, it's the deuces. Whoever handles it, whoever's over maintenance, I've talked to maintenance supervisors, to the mechanics. I talk to them every day, because every day I'm putting a bus on the apron for repair. They're 9 years old. They have 400,000 miles on them, and they're not getting the proper maintenance. I have to drive one every day. I have to protect my passengers from heat stroke. I have to not make them sit on the side of the road. It's important. It's an issue, and we have a lot of those deuces, and they're all in about the same shape. I've talked to everybody at the yard I can talk to. I'm not getting any movement, but I'm going to be out there all day, every day, this week, next week, the week after that, on Charleston, in a deuce. So whatever you have to do, I don't know about Keolis. I don't know what problems they're having, but that's what they have on the strip. It's an important thing. These buses were not built for this climate, and they're taking a beating, and they're 9 years old. So just something, it will help us, it will help the companies, and it will certainly help the passengers. Something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. That's it for the cards. Anyone else wishing to speak? Show of hands. All right, if those wishing to speak, if they could come down to the front row, and we'll. How many? I'm sorry, Jose. Just a second.
I'll wait too. I'll be the last one.
How many speakers do we have on this side of the room? A show of hands. Anybody? Okay. Please.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Wesley Brown. I'm a powertrain technician for Keolis Transit America. Been a member of the bargaining unit for 3 years. I'm 27 years old. I'm the youngest man in the shop. I just want to say that over the past 3 years, we have been busting our humps in the shop as much as possible, but it seems like there's no reciprocation on the other end from upper management as far as negotiating goes. Ms. Quigley, you just received your raise. I'm glad for you, but we haven't gotten our raise in 3 years. I got a wife and 2 kids at home. My wife is disabled. Because of somebody else, I can't get a raise. So we're just wondering where the love is at for us. I'm not up here to act a fool or anything like that. My brothers and sisters back here feel the same exact way I do. We want this settled. We want somebody to show that you guys care. Because we care about our jobs. We care about the public. And as well as that driver that just stepped out, look, we're doing the best we can as far as maintenance goes in these coaches. But we really need to see some reciprocation and some love from upper management. Not going to badmouth anybody here today. I just want you guys to know that we're ready for this thing to be settled, and we're doing our job the best we can. We're not up here to point fingers at you guys. Let's just get it done. That's all I've got, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay, my name is Sean Teller, and I'm also a driver for NB Transportation. One quick thing I wanted to support with what Virginia said. I talked to a bus driver who drives the same Alexander Dennis buses up in Ottawa, Canada, and he says they overheat up in Ottawa, Canada after about 80 degrees. But I also wanted to come up and say I'm back up what this mechanic said. Well, could we get a 5% raise? I mean, I'm just making $12.30 an hour. I gotta live with family. I can barely afford my car and my insurance and my phone payments. And that's basically what I'd like to say.
What's the logo on your hat?
San Francisco Giants.
Giants? Thank you. Next speaker?
Commissioners, good morning. Good morning, everybody. morning. You're not gonna speak to me? How you doing? I'm Calvin Gravely. Been doing service with RTC for about 5 years through Veolia and now Keolis. How do I say it's not looking good? RTC, y'all can do better. You could assist us with this problem we have with these two companies. I'm not gonna say I'm very proud to work, and my work shows on the strip and the riders and the passengers. But the negotiations between, I know Keolis, who I work for, and the bargaining unit employees, it's ridiculous. I think you so eloquently received a 5% raise, and bless your heart, that's a good thing. Probably deserve it. He was talking about the education and the qualifications. At 3 o'clock in the morning, they don't call you when the bus breaks down on the street. They call me. You don't have to pick up passengers and deal with the general public. This is about as many people as you're gonna see today. Some of these drivers see these people in an hour, this many people in an hour. It is a shame that you are not, Mr. Brown, it's a shame that you're not directly involved with Keolis and MV the way they've 2 years ago, they came in with these hopes, and you thought splitting the contract was a good thing. Yet, you know that they haven't negotiated in good faith. The people that are responsible for your city's transportation, we'll call them boots on the ground. What do I mean by that? Drivers and mechanics. They deal directly with the public and make sure that you don't have a headache. We're here today because we had a headache. Is it a 5% raise? These people are not worth a 5% raise. You can't talk to Keolis and MV, who you awarded them their contracts. They came in here 2 years ago and said that they could run this operation and manage it and make things go smoothly. Do you really think things are going smoothly right now? I'm asking you a question. Do you think so? Mr. Brown, do you think so? What have you heard about the two companies?
I'll let you finish, and I'll explain why.
Mr. Brown, we need your help. I've listened to you. You're an authority figure. Most of these people, well, everybody in this room knows you are. I'm here today. I had a lot of things to say about both companies. I'm really not in a good mood about the negotiations and where they're going. Mr. Brown, I'm asking you. My name is Calvin Gravely. My badge number is 110538. You can Google my name and see how long I've been doing this. I won't waste your time and tell you all the years of experience. Just Google my name. I'm asking you personally for your help. The way you talked to Mr. Mendoza when he got up here to speak, I didn't like that, but I won't retaliate. I'm asking you for your help. Please look into what these two companies are doing.
Thank you for your comments. And just many of you know, I think, excuse me, the first speaker asked, during public comment, the board receives comment. We are prohibited from entering into discussions during this time period. And believe me, speaking on behalf of the board, there are many speakers that would love to respond to, comment on, agree, disagree, but we are prohibited. So the sense that we sit here and listen and not respond is because we have to. There are other means to communicate through staff and through the board, but the public comment by statute is not one of them. And that's just the way it is in all the public agencies and all the public comment period. Thank you.
My name is Chris Townsend from the ATU International Union in Washington, D.C. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Mr. Brown, your remarks are disingenuous. I got on your buses when I arrived in town here again and saw that you have posted all over the buses and all over the bus stops the declaration that by law you're not allowed to get involved in the negotiations, but then it also mentions on the same flyer that you're perfectly willing to work with these two companies, MV and Keolis, to recruit a company from California to come in and pay $20 an hour to replace our drivers should they exercise their legal right to strike. And you can't have it both ways. But you're RTC, so you do have it both ways. And it's a shameful and insensitive thing that you offer a 5% raise to one of your senior management here when you've got far, far less than that on the table after 2 years of bargaining with your loyal and dedicated, hardworking workforce here. And shameful and more insensitive than all to have offered drivers from California or wherever else they were scraped up to come in and work for NTIR which we understand that this commission or these two companies or some combination of have compensated that company in excess of $1 million. In excess of $1 million, and we're going to get that number. We're going to get that number to hire these folks, park them in hotels, move not one passenger 1 inch, and now send them home apparently. And it speaks volumes about the animus of this board and this management and these two companies that we've come to this point in time. So we look forward to negotiations again next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
I'll be brief. Anyway, that's true what our international rep said. I just want to give you an update on the negotiations. Last week we did meet with MV and Keolis. MV did make a progress, very good progress, but we are disappointed in a couple of days that we had a meeting where we had agreed to 2 sections of the contract, and now they're backtracking, and we take the position that now they're reneging. I don't know where we're going to end up next week. We meet with them on the 17th, and then Keolis on the 18th. But if they're going to have an attitude of sign an agreement and then renege on it, that's what you put us in. And we don't appreciate that you guys hire these companies to come in and lie to you guys. We're working people. I work for public transit under public employees. I know what it takes. That's why I raised my hand. I said, put a public transit. I'll make sure these drivers drive and get well paid, and the mechanics. We're tired of being paid low wages. But anyway, Mr. Brown, don't take it personal. It was just something that you opened it up, and I said, okay, the public transit, I'll run it if you want me to. But anyway, hopefully we get 5% like Tina did, and we'll give you an update next month. But we also don't appreciate that these companies come in here and steal our holiday pay. And now their interpretation is their interpretation, and we have to grieve it. And that is a shame, because we already had one company that knew what we agreed to, and they were supposed to pay the holiday pay. We got almost 200 employees that did not keep holiday pay, and now we got to go through the grievance process. We got 112 grievances with Keolis, 113, take that. 10 operators who've been terminated, they shouldn't have been terminated. At least with MV, they resolved those terminations, and we got 99 grievances with them, and no arbitrations. We got 6 arbitrations already spent with Keolis. It's about spend money just like Veolia did to us. But we're not going to go away, because we're here to defend the rights of the workers. That's what A2 is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Next speaker.
Morning, Commissioners. Morning, RTC staff. My name is Manny Verma, and I work for the Maintenance Department for Keolis. I remember the first company that came into town, ATC Vancom, belonged to a fine fella by the name of Terry Vanderay. Good people. They were not very sure-footed in running the transit system at the time, and RTC was still a virgin then. But we came to an understanding, and that was we will learn as we go. And it worked. It worked for many years, till there was a glitch in 2002. There was a strike, and ever since then, things have been good and bad. And now, we have to deal with these 2 companies. Now, these 2 companies came into town naked. You gave them everything. Multi-million-dollar facility, state-of-the-art. You gave them the equipment, the buses to work on, and people came with it. I've always wondered about that, if they were still giving people away this time and age. And, startup money, millions of dollars in startup money. I know MV is an American company. You know, I know they spend money here. With that startup money, they bought a lot of used equipment from the previous company, some used tools, some parts, a few new cars. But my question is, what happened to the rest of the startup money? Since MV is an American company, the money is here somewhere. The company that I work for is a French company. I'll let you figure out where the rest of the startup money went. And this is a confused company that I'm working for, Keolis. They've changed their motto from we'll do things the right way every day to thinking like a passenger. And if they change from Veolia Transit to to Keolis something, Keolis North America, that's how confused they are. And next year, don't be surprised. They will change the company name to Keolis Bakeries or Keolis Pastries. The reason I know this, I work for them, number two, and I negotiate with them. I sit across the table from them, negotiating on behalf of the maintenance department. And there's no movement in their part. I'm not going to stand here and chastise MV. I don't work for MV. But these two companies are here today, gone tomorrow. The bottom line is, you and I are still going to be here. Can I take? Don't think for a second that what you do in Southern Nevada goes unnoticed. Oh, no, it doesn't. You're making this Southern Nevada a better place to live in. You and I live here. Our families live here. Our children, grandchildren go to school here. This is our home. We are the riding public. I thank you.
Thank you, Manny. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board this morning before we go into closed door? Please.
Come on, Commissioner. Seattle. I drove to Seattle.
Would you
yes.
identify yourself for the record?
Oh, sorry. Kevin Pugh. Keolis. I drove transit King County Metro in Seattle 7 years. Local 17 Teamsters in Seattle. I hear when I first got here last year, April, I hear about compensation. I hear about the yards. I hear about a lot of things. Compensation to me, just a number. You got to enjoy what you do, and you got to use judgment. We should be getting paid, compensated by our judgment that we make. Every one of y'all, I guess, board members, your children, your grandchildren, may get on a public bus. To me, it's by attitude. Attitude that individual will sit there and think about it. Am I happy to be here? I'm very happy to be here. Only reason I'm here is because my children are here. Otherwise, I would have stayed in Seattle. But here, I'm hearing a lot of nonsense. We should just get back to business. The public was what we should be serving. My attitude. Ms. Tina, you should get your pay raise. You have education. We should get a raise, get a judgment that we make, not to run that light, make sure that passenger get to point A to point B in a safe manner. Let's make everybody happy. That's what I say.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Before you start, is there anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Please.
How you doing? Good morning, everybody. My name is Londell Trish. I've been in transportation for really my entire life. My family has been involved in public transportation, whether it be in California, New York, Northern California, even Washington. I have a degree in logistics. I can do things on a computer. You talked about education. I have an education. I have a Bachelor of Science. I like what I do. I love what I do. I drive every single day, take everybody from point A to point B. Other than a closed bus, how many of you actually ride a bus on a regular basis? I doubt not many of you. You guys talk about what we do. It's easy to look at a computer screen, click a few buttons, to run a route, not knowing that at the end of an hour and 40-minute route with 7 wheelchairs on a bus that barely runs, and then you need to turn and burn to go back the opposite way, and then do a loop which is going to take you an hour and 53 minutes. And then you say, well, you can't really smoke a cigarette in the middle of the route because it's not professional, which is understandable. But there's no accountability from people that don't drive the buses. There's only accountability for the people that actually are behind the seat that have to deal with 150, 200 passengers in an hour and a half, 2 hours. You look at it, they come in with their attitudes. You're supposed to keep a smile on your face. You tell them, you know what, it's okay. You state the policy, let them ride. And then they cause ruckus in the back. And then you don't have a supervisor to back you up. You don't have Allied that's there within a matter of, let's say 15 minutes. I've waited for Allied literally 35 minutes, at 6 o'clock in the morning. What are they doing? It comes to a point where accountability needs to go all ways, not just, I'm not going to talk about the pay and everything else. I knew what I signed up for when I got here. Although our pay is not commensurate with other companies and transit individuals, even the trash company. What makes picking up garbage more important than driving human beings every single day? I do 45, 50 hours a week, safely, I might add. And, it's just, oh, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. What is it that I'm seeing? I'm seeing a lot of talk, hearing a lot of talk, but it's not happening. And I need to know when this is going to end. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Brown, Commissioners. Hi, my name is Terry Richards. I am a driver for Keolis. And when Mr. Mendoza were speaking, after they said the thing about Miss Quigley's raise, I don't know you. I've seen you before. I've met with some of you out in the parking lot or whatever. When we all said no, it wasn't directly towards her, but it's the fact that you guys, she's been here 3 years. Every year you come here and you give her a raise. We get our offer for our raise. One company gives 94 cents over 4 years. The other one gives $1.94 over 4 years. I heard you issue a challenge to us out here that if we thought we could do a better place at her job, then take it. Well, I'm here to take that challenge. I'll switch places for her for a week if she'll switch places with me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll frame it another way. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Hello, everyone. My name is Raymond Harrison. And I work for Keolis. First of all, I'd like to say good morning to Keolis, and I'm very thankful that you have granted me a job. And then good morning to all the city council. Thank you for allowing me to have a job. It seems like in our country, it's always talked about the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the middle class is shrinking. But we have a wonderful opportunity here in this city because we are unique. We're an entertainment capital of the world. People from all over the world come to this town. They do. So that means revenue always comes to this town. And we as bus drivers are your ambassadors. And I would like for all of us to share the wealth. Let's let Las Vegas be different in our community. Let's stand out. Let's be different. Let's all share the wealth that we have in our town. Let's not become like we see other towns and other communities, like in Detroit. The jobs go to China or go overseas. Let's be different. Let's stand up and say, you know what, we really care about our drivers, just like we care about the corporate. If you could spend, and I think it's maybe $1 billion for 2 companies to run and operate, don't forget about the drivers, because we are your ambassadors. When they come here, they see us. When I drive on the Strip, and people are standing too close to the bus stop, I get on the mic and I say, please step back, here comes the bus. Please step back, here comes the bus. Thank you. Gracias. Dankeschön. Galiato. Sheshe kamsamida. Merci beaucoup. Obrigado. Tutaraba. Spasiba. Shukriya. Shukran. Right on. And they love it. They love it. I am your ambassador. Now, I didn't actually say that just to boost myself up before the city council, but what I'm saying is everybody out there, all of us drivers, we have that reach to the public, you see? And when we give them a great time on the city bus, and as well as drive safely, they go back home and say, you know, you got to come to Las Vegas. You've got to come here because we are treated special when we come to this town. So that's really all that I have to say. Let's be different. Let's be a different city. Let's not be like the rest of the world thinks of America, you know, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Let's all share the wealth. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak? How about that young man up there? Is he ready? All right. Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close this portion of public hearing, public comment, and I'll need a motion to go into closed door. Motion to go into closed door on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will go into closed session.